Once upon a time, there was a princess named Katerina. She was the most beautiful princess in all the lands, and every prince alive wanted her hand in marriage because she was not only beautiful, but intelligent and kind as well. But what no man knew was that she could not speak at all, for she had been kidnapped at the age of 4 and had not spoken since her return. The resident fairy godmother of the castle said that it would take her one true love to get her to speak again, and her parents despaired, because they knew that for Katerina to find her one true love, it could take a lifetime. A prince named Lancifer was practicing his swordplay in a kingdom nearby, nearly a week's ride away, when a messenger burst into the courtyard calling for him. "Lancifer, Lancifer, my lord prince, your parents call you to the throne room," he cried, dropping to one knee before the prince. This particular messenger had a tendency to overreact, and Prince Lancifer calmly sheathed his sword, replacing it where he got it from the sword rack. A servant wheeled the rack inside a storage room as Prince Lancifer followed the messenger to the throne room. "Lancifer, it is time for you to find a wife," said the king. "Ella has been nagging me about when you'll finally settle down and bring her grandchildren. You know your mother wants grandchildren." No sooner than the word grandchildren had escaped from the king's mouth, the throne room doors burst open again. "Jeremy, I heard every last word of that, and I have not been nagging you, merely suggesting that you finally bring our son up here and tell him that he must find a wife, as I see you have done so. I have brought you some cakes as a reward." The queen snapped her fingers, and a maid brought forth a platter with cookies and cakes upon it. "This must last you the rest of the day, my love," she smiled and kissed the king. "Lancifer, darling, I have heard that Princess Katerina of Teroth is looking for a husband. I believe it is proper these days for suitors to call upon the female. And so tomorrow you are leaving for Terrot City, capital of Teroth, and you will behave respectfully. Your behaviour reflects upon your father and your country." Lancifer bowed his head. "Yes, mother. Is she a decent woman?" "You know I will not marry any girl whose only concern is when her next dress arrives. She is beautiful and kind, they say, and her parents are quite pleasant too. You will enjoy yourself, I'm quite sure of that." The queen waved her hand. "You're dismissed. Go pack, dear. You are leaving early tomorrow morning." Prince Lancifer left and climbed the North Tower steps to his room at the top, grumbling about his mother the entire way. He threw a month's worth of clothes into her trunk and managed to fit a lute and 3 bottles of shampoo in there as well. He left at dawn and the next morning travelled by carriage for the better part of a week before reaching Terrot City and then the front gate of the castle of Teroth. "I am Lancifer of Riel, calling for Katerina of Teroth," he announced his presence to the castle guards, and then they checked the seals on the 12 pieces of parchment his parents had packed in his road bag, knowing he'd need them to declare his suit for the lovely princess. The head guard saluted him as his carriage passed through the gates, and the king and queen of Teroth warmly welcomed him into their castle. Just like home, he was put into rooms in the North Tower, but here he was on the bottom floor rather than the top. It was nice, he mused, not having to climb up 1,000 stairs when he was already exhausted. He collapsed on the bed and slept until dinner. At dinner, Lancifer sat across from the lovely Katerina and nervously smiled at her when he wasn't looking down at his plate. He made small talk with the king and queen, noticing the princess's strange absence from the conversation. "Katerina, I'm sure your voice is as lovely as the rest of you. Why then do you not speak?" The queen stepped in and answered for her daughter. "She has not spoken since she was stolen away as a child. We found her, but her voice has been lost to the threads of time. However, we have heard that she may regain the use of it if she was to meet and marry her one true love. He alone may coax the voice from out of her." Lancifer smiled. "'Tis a good thing then, my lady. I cannot stand a woman who has nothing better to do than to talk my ear off. Katerina, would you like to go stargazing down on the river in 2 nights' time? Though the night sky cannot compare to your beauty, I would like nothing more than to gaze upon it with you beside me." She blushed and nodded, averting her gaze from the handsome prince. "Take her nursemaid as chaperone," the queen said. "It will be most improper if you do not." "I would do nothing less," Lancifer said, deferring to the proper woman. If you and the king would like to accompany us, you may. I think a picnic beneath the stars would be most wonderful. We could have small sweets and light drinks, I think. The stars come out far too late for a hearty dinner. We shall consider your offer and inform you tomorrow night, the Queen smiled. Thank you for your thoughtfulness. It is late now, and I'm afraid we must go to bed. Good night, Prince Lucifer. Katerina, to bed with you, the Queen exclaimed. Lucifer waved at the princess as she followed her parents to their rooms, and he made his way back to the first floor of the North Tower, where he fell asleep as soon as his head touched the pillow. The next morning he joined the Teroth royal family for breakfast, and greeted Katerina with a kiss on the back of her hand and a twinkle in his eye. You are lovely, my dear lady. There are not words to describe to what extent, but know that you are the most beautiful creature that I have ever laid eyes on. Katerina blushed and bowed her head as Lucifer rose from a bent knee. After they had breakfast, he demonstrated his skill with the sword and horse, and they dined on sandwiches in the gardens at lunch. Lucifer found he was quickly warming up to the quiet princess, and he took her hand as they wandered through the gardens. She smiled sunnily at him, and he returned her smile. She led him through her favourite parts of the garden, and he requested to see the greenhouse full of small trees that the land was known for. As she accompanied Lucifer through the greenhouse, he told her stories of his home and childhood. She reacted wonderfully, smiling in all the right places and nearly crying when the moment called for it. They arrived to dinner together. Her hair was still messed from when they lay on their backs atop a hill, watching the clouds pass by, and his hands were still dirty from helping a gardener prune a tree. The next morning, Lucifer met Katerina again, and she bid him good morning. He was shocked. She wasn't supposed to talk. Her voice was hoarse and clearly rusty from lack of use, but still beautiful, he thought. Will you accompany me to the music hall today? She asked. I would like to play for you. The prince nodded in agreement, ecstatic that she began talking again. She sat down in front of the piano and beautiful music flowed forth from her fingertips. She poured her heart into the music and Lucifer was overwhelmed with the love she projected through the notes at him. As the final notes faded from the air, he whispered, I love you. And she returned in kind, and I love you. That night they gazed at the stars and cuddled close on a blanket by the river, snacking on cookies and cakes, and every year they would take the trip to the same river on the same day to gaze at the stars for the night. For years they lived happily ever after, and their kingdoms grew stronger together. The end. If you're not already asleep, I do hope you enjoyed that short story. And again, if you liked the video, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, and please let me know any recommendations or critique that you have in the comments down below. And with that, I shall leave you relaxed and tranquil. I do hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care now.